All right, here's the next video in your long division packet. Remember, I'm going to go really fast at this because you have the ability to pause it if you want to make it slow down. If you just want to be working on this and you're just checking your work, remember you can scroll ahead on that scroll bar at the bottom of the video to move ahead faster to just check your work to see how you did. All right, so we're using our Does McDonald's Sell Cheeseburgers Raw acronym, little hints to make sure we're being organized. We're also using our check mark system with that to keep track of our work. All right, so here we go, speed mode. We're starting off with Does McDonald's Sell Cheeseburgers Raw? Okay, right away, this is determine, multiply, subtract, check, bring down, and repeat or remainder. All right, so just to start off for this first one, realize that we have 4 digits that we're dividing up. So we have individual Smarties, we have 10 packs of Smarties, we have 100 packs of Smarties, and we have packs of 1,000 Smarties. And we're dividing these all up to 5 lucky kids. Okay, so let's start off here and see if we can share any of these 1,000 packs first. So we're going to determine 5 times what gets me close to 1 without going over, and that is not possible, so that's 0. So instead we're going to regroup that over, unwrap it, and now we have 14 hundreds that we're going to divide up instead. So now's our official check system. So here we go. Determine 5 times what gets me close to 14 without going over. So I'm thinking through 5 times what? 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, that goes over. So 5 times 2, multiply, 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, 14 minus 10 is 4. Check, is this less than the divisor? We want it to be less, because if it was a 5 or more, then we could have shared more. And we're pretending he's a king, and the king is happy because you shared as much as you could possibly share. All right, so now we bring down the 7 and we unwrap and we join these together by boxing them. So now we have 47 10s on the tray to share. All this is dead to us. All right, and then we're going to repeat because there's space in the quotient and we still have 47 to share. It's bigger than the king now. Okay, so we're going to go through and repeat now and determine 5 times what gets me close to 47 without going over. So I know 5 times 8 is 40, 5 times 9 is 45, 5 times 10 goes too high. Now we're going to multiply, 5 times 9 is 45. Now we're going to subtract 47 minus 45 and get 2. We're going to check, and 2 is less than 5. The king's happy. Bring down my leftovers and join them together and box. And then we're going to repeat because there's space in the quotient and the remainder is bigger. All right, so determine 5 times what gets me close to 28 without going over. 5 times 5 is 25, 5 times 6 is 30. So 5 times 5 works and gets me close without going over. We're going to multiply and then subtract. 28 minus 25 is 3. And then we're going to check. And the king is happy. We're going to bring down, but there's nothing to bring down, but we can box. And then this is our remainder of 3 left over. All right, on to the next one. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Determine 3 times what gets me close to 3. Oh, I can share that 3,000 this time with 3 people. 3 times 1. Let's multiply. 3 times 1 equals 3. Now we'll subtract. 3 minus 3 equals 0. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 4 and box. Repeat because there's space in the quotient. Let's determine 3 times what gets me close to 4 now. 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. We're multiplying. Now subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 7 and box our new remainder. Repeat because there's space in the quotient. Time to determine 3 times what gets me close to 17 now. 3 times 7 is 21, that's too high. 3 times 6 is eking 18. That's too high, so 3 times 5 is 15. So determine, and now check off multiply. And now we're going to check off subtract. And we have 2. And we're going to check and make sure the king's happy. He is. And we're going to bring down the leftovers and box what's now on the tray to share. And we know that we're repeating because there's space in the quotient and we still have more to share. So, deciding again, 3 times what gets me close to 25 now without going over. 3 times 9, 1 less, 27. 3 times 8 is 24. So we decided and multiplied. We're going to subtract. I don't want to run into this other problem, so we're going to have to subtract small. Okay, check, the king is happy. Bring down, nothing to bring down, but I can still box my remainder. And this is my remainder of 1. Okay, down to letter D. Okay, set up your McDonald's. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Determine 4 times what gets me close to 8. Ooh, we can share that 8,000. 4 times 2 is actually exactly 8. So check off determine, and now let's multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract 8 minus 8 and get 0. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 2. Repeat. Oh, sorry, bring down and box. And repeat because there's space in the quotient. Let's determine again. Determine 4 times what gets me close to 2 without going over. 4 times nothing. Multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 6 and box. Repeat because there's space in the quotient. Determine 4 times what gets me close to 26 without going over. I know 4 times 6 is 24, so 4 times 7 is 28. That goes too high, so we're going to use 6. Now multiply. 4 times 6 is 24. Now subtract, and we have 2 left. Now check, the king is happy. Bring down the 4 and box. That's what's left on our tray to divide up. And we're going to repeat because there's space in the quotient. Time to determine again. 4 times what gets me close to 24 without going over? I know 4 times 6 is dentifloor 24. Multiply it. 4 times 6 equals 24. Subtract. 24 minus 24, a small 0, so I don't run into that. Check. The king is happy. And bring down, nothing to bring down, but we can box, and we have a remainder because there's nothing left in the quotient, a remainder of 0. Okay, letter E, here we go. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? All right, so here we go. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 7 without going over. 7 times 1. Multiply. 7 times 1 is 7. Subtract. 7 minus 7 is 0. Check, is the king happy? Yes. Bring down our 3 and box what's left over. And repeat because there's space in the quotient. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 3 without going over. 7 times nothing. Multiply. 7 times 0 is 0. Subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. Check, the king is happy. 3 is less than 7. Bring down the 5 and box our new trade remainder that we're going to divide up. And we're repeating because of that space in the quotient. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 35 without going over. Ooh, 5 times 7 I know is 35. 7 times 6 is 42, so that goes over. So we just determined. Now let's multiply. 7 times 5 is 35. Let's check. Oops, sorry. We need to subtract. 35 minus 35 equals 0. Time to check. The king is definitely happy. Bring down the extras, 5, and box what's now on our tray to divide up. And we're going to repeat because we have 1 more spot left in the quotient. All right, so here we go. Determine 7 times what gets me close to 5 without going over. 7 times nothing will get me 5. Now let's multiply. 7 times 0 is 0. And subtract. 5 minus 0 equals 5. And check. The king is still happy. 5 is less than 7. Nothing to bring down, but we can box our remainder. And we know that we have a remainder of 5. Okay, letter F. Here we go. It does McDonald's sell cheese burgers raw. Determine 3 times what gets me close to 2. 3 times nothing, so we're going to go ahead and look at 21. Okay. So, determine 3 times what gets me close to 21 without going over. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 8 is 24. That goes over. 3 times 7 is, 21. Okay, so multiply. 3 times 7 is empty sum 21. Subtract to find out what's left over. The king is happy. We just checked. Bring down our leftovers and box. Repeat because there's spots in the quotient. Determine 3 times what gets me close to 9. Ooh, I know 3 times 3 is line 9. Let's multiply it. 3 times 3 equals 9. And subtract. 9 minus 9 is 0. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 4. And box it. That's our new amount. And repeat. Last time repeating. Determine 3 times what gets me close to 4. 3 times 1. 3 times 1 equals 3. Subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Check. The king is happy. Bring down. Nothing to bring down, but we can box. And we are done. We have a remainder of 1. Okay, last 3 down here. Okay, so we have does McDonald's sell cheese burgers raw? Okay, determine 4 times what gets me close to 6 without going over. 4 times 1 is 6. Multiply, or 4 times 1 gets me close to 6. Multiply 4 times 1 equals 4. Subtract 6 minus 4 equals 2. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 7 and repeat. All right, next one. Determine 4 times what gets me close to, bring down and box. 4 times 1 gets me close to 27. I was looking for my tray there and it wasn't there. 4 times what gets me close to 27 without going over? I know 4 times 9 is 1 less 36. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times surfing, Denti plate 28. Oh, so it must be 4 times 6. Multiply. 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract. 27 minus 24 is 3. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 6 and box and repeat. Okay, determine 4 times what gets me close to 36. I know 4 times 9, 1 less, is 36. So let's multiply. 4 times 9 is 36. Now we're going to subtract. 36 minus 36 is 0. Check. The king is happy. B, bring down the 0 and box. And time to repeat one last time. Determine 4 times what gets me close to 0 without going over. 4 times nothing. Multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. Check. The king is definitely happy. Nothing to bring down. And we have a remainder of 0. 2 more problems to go, and then we're done with this sheet. Does McDonald's sell cheese burgers raw? Determine 6 times what gets me close to 2 without going over? Nothing, so we're going to go ahead and combine the 25. So determine 6 times what gets me close to 25 without going over. So 6 times 6 is 36, so that's too high. Maybe 6 times 4 is 24. Ooh, that's really close. Okay, multiply. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract, and we get 1. Check. The king is happy. Bring down the 6 and box our leftover amount and repeat the process because there's space in the quotient. Determine 6 times what gets me close to 16. So I know 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18. So I have to use 2. Multiply. 6 times 2 equals 12. Subtract 16 minus 12 is 4. Check, the king is happy. Bring down the 2 and box, and repeat because there's space in the quotient. Last time though, last spot, determine 6 times what gets me close to 42, okay, without going over. So I know 6 times 9 is 54, that's too high. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, so we're going to multiply. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract 42 minus 42 and get 0. Check, the king is definitely happy. Bring down, nothing to bring down. And then we have repeating or remainder, and at this point it is a remainder of 0. And the very last problem we have is, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw? Here we go, and luckily this is only a 3-column problem. We have determine 8 times what gets me close to 3 without going over. That doesn't work. So we're going to join the 2 together and deal with 33. So determine 8 times what gets me close to 33 without going over. Mr. P and Mrs. Wismer are trying to distract me. So 8 times 8 is 64. That's way too high, so we'll cut it in half maybe. 8 times 4, 32. Ooh, that's good. So multiply. 8 times 4, 32. Subtract 33 minus 32 is 1. Check, the king is definitely happy. Bring down the 8 and box, and repeat or remainder. We know we're repeating. So determine 8 times what gets me close to 18 without going over. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 8 is 24, so it must be a 2. Multiply 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract 18 minus 16 is 2. Check, the king is definitely happy. 2 is less than 8. Bring down and join the leftovers together, so we have a tray of 25 to divide, and we're going to repeat because there's space in the quotient. Determine 8 times what gets me close to 25 without going over. 4 times 8 is 32, so that's too high. Let's do 3 times 8 is floor 24. We're going to multiply. 8 times 3 is 24. We're going to subtract. 25 minus 24 is 1. Check, the king is happy. 1 is less than 8. Nothing to bring down, but we can still box, and there is nothing left in the quotient, so we have a remainder of 1, and that is your sheet.